do get crimes with long guns, you've probably seen it in the news, but it is mostly handguns for all the reasons that were stated earlier.
So we're on this.
If I could just add to the county side of that, great points. He mentioned, I think 4 times, that the guns are coming from the county. It's a real problem. The sheriff has done 2 things. One is with a firearms investigator. That's all he does, work with Joe and his group. And he tracks down pistols, guns, firearms, and he works up investigations on them. And we go and get them and make sure if they're illegal. The other side of it is the way we investigate burglaries. And we have people in suburbs that leave guns and unlock cars all the time. So when we get a burglary or a car larceny anywhere in Monroe County, the sheriff patrols, I actually keep a copy of that on like a summary sheet. And when I have my weekly investigators meeting, I ask them where the gun is. So they know that of all the burglaries they have, that's gun involved, that is their top priority, get that gun back. And they work with RPD closely to try and get those back. And it's amazing working together how many of them we get back. It's really impressive because it is a problem. And so we also work with roadway interdiction for the guys that we know are stealing guns from mom, dad, brother, neighbor, whoever. It's a huge problem. And so we make that a top priority, and we've had some pretty good success with it. But education is also a piece of our end. We're getting people to start blocking their stuff.
And one last thing, just to finish up there, some out of the box stuff, as Dory mentioned. So one of the things we came up with as part of this firearm group that we put together is we actually put together a pamphlet in conjunction with the sheriff's office, and we went to all the funeral parlors, and we gave them instructions and directions on what to do if a loved one dies and they have legally owned or illegally owned weapons, the steps they can take to turn those pistols in or rifles in for safekeeping while they get a pistol permit, or if they have one, what you have to do to transfer. Because one of the things we found out is oftentimes an elderly member of your family would pass away, and the family would say, "We think he had guns, we don't know where they are, we can't find them." And sometimes folks don't keep track of where their guns are. They may have a child or a grandchild that's addicted. They literally took that gun, traded it for drugs to support their addiction, and nobody even knew that gun was missing. Or oftentimes we'll recover the gun and we call and tell them, "Hey, we recovered your gun." "No, you didn't, it's in my drawer." "Well, go look." Well, it's not in their drawer because we recovered it and they didn't even know it was missing. So that's been actually really good, and that's actually recovering legal guns from a person who's deceased, that we then get those guns off the street so they can't easily be taken and then traded around. Because like I said, the guns kind of keep circulating, and sometimes they're a community gun. 5 or 6 of us that do crimes like the chief talked about earlier, we all use the same gun. We keep them in a certain place and we share that gun when we're doing our crimes. So those are things that we know that we have to get in between to try and get to those guns.
In the past year, because of all that work and everything Mayor talked about, our firearms investigators' workload is doubled. So they have 100% more proactive investigations than they did last year because of all those things you talked about. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
So, again, pro bono on television, what you do with guns.
I've asked media a few times for free stuff.
Well, and
It's
they
not
don't-
easy to get.
Well, maybe the community can,
If you guys ask, they might.
yeah,
That would be
away
great.
and help save our city, put
Yep.
this stuff out.
Absolutely.
Billboards.
Yeah, that would be great.
2 questions. One, you mentioned all these illegal guns. Is it possible to track ammunition? Like a gun by itself, if it's not loaded, it's not that scary. But you start putting bullets in it, now we have a problem. Our ammunition boxes, I mean, you know.
Guns have serial numbers and things on the track, bullets.
Like, but don't you buy like a box? I mean, I've only seen it on TV. It's like a box of bullets.
No, pretty much impossible.
Yeah,
You could just go in anywhere and just buy
well, you have to
ammunition.
you have to show your ID and all that stuff to buy ammunition, make sure you're over the age, but I mean, it's,
Anybody can buy ammunition as long as they have identification. You go to a store that sells ammunition. And there's no way to track it because there's not a unique identifier. Now, from the crime lab, if we have shell casings recovering or recovered bullets, sometimes we can compare those and match those up. One gun was used in multiple crimes. Unfortunately, that's after the fact.
Right.
And for us, our goal is to do it before the crime happens, before the violence happens. So there is a way to do it that helps with the prosecution piece and maybe putting the case together and tying the pieces, but it's not really helping us beforehand to prevent it.
So that you need the license and permit, et cetera, for the gun.
Not a pistol. A pistol permit, yes, for the gun, but to buy ammunition, you need to be old enough and have a license.
But there's no list, there's no, oh, this person bought 16 rounds or whatever it is, boxes.
There's no tracking on ammunition.
Could-
Now, there might be a red flag at the place that the person goes to buy ammunition,
could that be maybe a legal,
Yeah.
a new database or something that, I mean,
Nothing we can, nothing we
Well, but I mean,
nothing we reveal.
if they're smart, they're gonna go to different ones, you know?
If anybody
Just like
followed the
that
Las
cold
Vegas shooting,
medicine
right,
thing.
the gentleman had bought 30,000 or 40,000 rounds of ammunition, but over a number of years. It never really draws attention.
See, there's
Yeah.
So,
very slow.
there's no easy way to track that. Sales.
And the follow-up, when drugs are trafficked or moved from place to place, are the people prosecuted for each county, each city, each municipality that it has traveled through to build up, you know, charges?
Well, if it's, you know, interstate or interjurisdictions, that's usually handled by the U.S. Attorney's Office, because they've got the bigger scope of handling, you know, a larger area.
So it's not
Right. I mean,
aggregate?
Right.
Okay.
The cases that we see, you know, are solely within Monroe County.
It's usually where you stop them. We just did a multi-county interdiction. Guys were coming out of Buffalo, where they got stopped is where the charge is. That's where they possessed it.
Ah.
But where you did the sales and that stuff, the sale might be Buffalo, the possession might be Rochester. You could have two jurisdictions with that. And then the attorney's trying to work that out.
Yeah,
That's why it's
they-
easier to have it all under U.S. Attorney's Office.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I said, we look at it, you know, case by case basis, and if it's more advantageous for it to take us a state prosecution, they'll do it, but if we know that the U.S. attorneys will have a little bit more teeth, where they're able to get something more on it, then we'll take it through there, so it all depends on how it goes.
Okay, moving along, did you have a question?
I have one question about the law, and it's not a popular view. I know it's a multi-layered thing, but it's, to me, it seems like the new normal is that sellers, bad, users, victims, or it's a medical or societal problem. So that, you know, a couple of years ago, people would call me to complain about some drain on the street that wasn't clearing right. Now I get calls, somebody's OD'd, somebody split their throat, stumbled into the street, and we can't do anything because they're not the people selling the drugs, they're the ones using them. But, so if possessing a drug is illegal, why, if you've got those drugs in your body, and the police department must have a huge chunk of his budget, and he's going to Narcan, pumping it into them to keep them alive, hoping that maybe they'll get a second or third or fourth chance. Why isn't that illegal? I mean, I know it's not possible to say criminalize this and everybody says you can't arrest out of this, but you know what? I'd be really happy if I could go home and find out that person A, B, and C, that the little kids in the neighborhood see stumbling around in the fog and bringing all this garbage to our street. I'd be really happy if somebody came and put them in jail, and maybe they got themselves straightened out while they were in there.
Yeah, and, you know, and sometimes arresting is a good avenue for them to treat, because you've got something hanging over their heads. You know, oftentimes, and I think you said something, people, you know, may not want to do it on their own, or they're embarrassed for whatever reason. You know, if you've got a charge hanging over their head, then, you know, maybe they're going to take it seriously. So that's how we use the criminal justice system to help people. But again, it's really on a case-by-case basis. You've got to look at the individual that you're dealing with. Is this really, you know, someone who needs and deserves treatment, or is this, again, a dealer that we really want to take a look
But
at?
in neighborhoods, in the meantime, we're stuck. We've got these pods of people in houses that they don't go to work. So what, are they on? They're on the taxpayer's dollar, probably, or maybe their parents or grandparents or whoever is helping support them, hoping to keep them alive, hoping that they'll get into recovery. But what do? We're stuck.
It's sad.
I mean, if they were selling, then we could get so much interest. The police, they're not interested when we tell them about houses where somebody is selling marijuana or pills. So the neighborhood, they all know that. And you get used to it. And then the next thing they get used to, well, where is this gonna end? How much do we have to get used to before something ever changes?
Right, and you can't blame the police, you know, for this. Oftentimes, drug dealers and drug users, they're not held in custody, so they could have a charge pending. The police could have made the arrest, to help out the neighborhood, but they, for whatever reason, either the pretrial release, they posted bail, or the judge, ROR'd them, and, that's another aspect. that you have to-
The police are our saviors, they're the
Right,
only
right.
only ones that we're usually looking to for help.
Right.
So if help doesn't come,
Right.
and we don't get it, it does sound like we're blaming them, but they're the only ones that we feel are in it to win it with us.
Right.
Anyway,
And we've had cases, I mean, the chief and I have discussed this before, people getting arrested for, weapons possession, they go in, they're given a little bail, they bail out, the charge is still pending, they're picked up again, and for another weapon or drug escape, and the judge, okay, raises the bail a little bit, and it's like a revolving door.
is there
So you gotta bring the
something you
judiciary into this too.
could think of that people could advocate for in the law, to campaign the law?
Pretrial
Change
detention
this.
would be one.
What would-
one
But,
that would
but
be
now,
very
this-
helpful.
but now the
I
swing
think
is
you're
up.
right.
I know.
Now it looks like they're going to have, pretrial release for everyone, but for the most violent offenders. So your drug dealers, they're gonna be arrested, and then they're gonna be let go, and they're gonna be, out on, some kind of, monitored release back in the community. That's what it looks like.
There's, like, you have this community group going after them, there are other community groups saying they shouldn't be in jail without pretrial release.
We
They're
also-
arguing to get out.
And we also have now, like, we may be arresting these 16, 17-year-old kid that's out on the street that's doing the drug dealing, doing all that stuff in the gang. Now, New York State is raising the age. Soon it's gonna be, we won't be able to arrest them if they're under 18 years old, except for the most violent crimes.
Right now, I think we're here for
That's what the whole discussion is.
although I think it's terrible anybody affected by drugs, but right now, we're here for our city, which is the core. Hearing everybody goes, no, we are the big sellers, let's be honest. We house the drug dealers, we house them when they're down and almost finished, and can't live anyplace
Oh, there's dope
else.
dealers out in the county, they're just not sitting on the corner stone.
Hello, we know that. But where are
We can do a lot of these because
We've all heard that, but where are most of them? In our city, They
As
come
far
from all
as
over
the volume,
North.
absolutely, Mary, but there are some very big drug dealers out in the county too.
Where are most of them? I didn't go out to Pittsburgh and see them sell.
well, we're everywhere.
They're
Just
very,
going
they're
everywhere.
everywhere. They used to drop it off in my mail.
Why Rochester? Why
The US Post Office is the
Rochester?
biggest drug dealer in the United
Where
States.
is there a North Clinton in Pittsburgh? Where is there a North Clinton in Brighton?
It doesn't look like it.
Where
The high school parking lot has
Yeah.
it.
Right,
Exactly.
Well, there's some apartment complexes.
Oh, absolutely. She thinks
Right,
it's just-
right,
No.
No, they still do, but there are suburban locations where they can buy.
Yeah.
They just buy out the suburbs, why they come here?
They're much more, honestly, the county dealers are more careful, they're more discretionary. They don't sell like it's hard to get a buy into them.
So it's
They're
harder to
trusted.
buy in the county
Go ahead.
or than it is
Yes.
the city?
They're not on the street corners like.
They're in your neighbor's house. It doesn't look necessarily like.
So
it.
it's harder,
Sure.
so they come to the city.
Yeah, but we have grow operations in the county, and we've had a couple, well, we've had a number, but we get people who grow operations in the county, it's a bigger thing. Their house is converted to a greenhouse for marijuana, and then we check the temperature of the house, check their Geneva,
Right,
and we
right,
put out
right, right.
and we do a rate in the house and get it.
Right, right.
We also have farm fields all over Monroe County,
Right, I know.
that the Border Patrol helps us with a helicopter, we fly over, there's these huge
Every year.
fields of marijuana going in the middle of the farm
So
field.
why aren't we
We do
hearing all
recreation.
these shootings and killings out like we do in the city?
Well, we just resident. It's just a different way of doing business.
See, when you got all these great things about smartphones, we can do apps, I can do end encryption and all that stuff, and if I have my circle of people who are buying drugs from me, I may not be selling just dime bags to somebody, I may be selling larger quantities, and you know what? I know I can sell to Dave, and he's a good customer, so I can sit there and go up like this, and I just meet him in a parking lot at the Walmart or at the Wegmans. Here you go, he gives me
Why
a
don't you just drive in the city down to Sydney or Quincy or North
Absolutely,
Clinton?
Yeah.
absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, and
You just drive up?
If you're a resident and you live in the county and you have 100 cars come to your house, you're toast. So they don't do that. They don't have, they know that.
I just wanted to say, Mary, my blood ran cold when my daughter told me that, and she told me at breakfast this morning, so this is fresh. She was at a party this weekend, and so they are in 8th grade, so 12 and 13 years old. At the party, they found some substance from the older brother and sister of the host family in the house in the suburbs. And I've been to this house, nice folks. The father works in a department in the city office in City Hall. So I don't even know how to, do I send him a text? I mean, I don't know yeah, exactly. I'm like, how am I going to say this to this guy that his son, eldest son and his daughter, whatever. And believe me, my daughter's not going to be going back over unsupervised at this location for I don't know how long. Anyhow, my two questions were, I'm so sorry. Oh geez. Two things, because I'm also on the LA 230 group, which is about prostitution in Lyle Avenue, which dovetails, connects, is interconnected with this whole drug problem. My investigation of that was, I was going to ask, is it possible legally to extend school drug-free zones? I saw that in some cities, it varies between a 300-foot to a 3-mile radius. So if we could, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it might get a little tricky down in Charlotte with 42 school or even Charlotte, but how can we utilize our legislators to maybe work on that? And if we could include homeschooling as well, because that might be able to really cover the map, maybe make it, Monroe County wide. Yes. Yeah, exactly. But whatever we can do,
County legislator.
yeah. He's a great legislator, exactly.
I mean, homeschooling would be difficult because they have to realize that they're within, 3 miles or 300 feet from the school. So.
But I mean, anything that we can give you more teeth to make the penalty harsher, quicker. Oh, and that was the other thing. Instead of how many buys you have to do with an informant or all that, if we could shorten that time frame in any way.
Okay, we gotta move this along, because I was just told that I didn't do what you were back.
I just want to say, just think out of the box, because we know we have a loud animal. Can we just make a red light district in Rochester?
No.
I mean, because the reason why I say that is because if we know they're going to sell, and they're going to do whatever, wouldn't it be safe to just have a location where you can have people?
No, in Riga. We'll put it in Riga.
You're attracting like Norfolk County problem.
Right.
Right.
And then you just increase the crime, people die too. Instead of someplace
All
else.
right, I'm just thinking out of the box.
That's all right. All those ideas out there.
But he had one of the highest AIDS sexually transmitted diseases, second to New York City, which is on the highest in the nation. So we have problems, gentlemen, and lovely ladies. All right, we'll move it around fast, all right?
One more question.
Sorry.
Did we skip over number 3?
No,
We did.
We wanted to just take it back to another. The Crowley problem.
I can't speak to the parole problem. I don't work with parole. I don't get involved with it. Again,
I mean, I know that we've been here for a long time. I do want to, this is an important issue. I'll just say it's something that we've been very engaged with. The fact is that about a year and a half ago, and I know I shared this with Sandra, that we did a look at our shootings, and about half of them, either the shooter or the victim, was on some type of supervised release, either a pretrial release, probation, or parole. We've had a number of very high-profile crimes in this city involving parolees. I will say that parole over the last several years has worked with us cooperatively. They've done a number of things, everything from stopping Friday afternoon drop-offs to better communication.
We recently entered into an MOU with parole. We're now, the Rochester Police Department can call their 24-hour operations center at any time because, you know, they don't work 24/7 like we do. If they have an issue with the parolee, we can call in and request immediate parole detainer warrant. These are all steps in the right direction. I know I'm part of the Monroe County Chiefs Association. We have a proposal now. In fact, I had a conversation with the state senator today who's going to broker a meeting with parole officials and the local law enforcement chiefs here so that we can work on trying to get better communication. My only, and I'll just say speaking for myself, we do tend to focus on the supervision of parolees. I think that the time has come for a much more fundamental look at the parole system. What are the criteria being used for release, the risk analysis? I think we need some more information so that we can deal with this in a little more of an intelligent way.
So the parole board, I mean, it's like, I mean, nobody wants to put anybody in jail, but it's like, we're bad by saying somebody's bad, they have to go to jail, and then they're just letting everyone out. We've had terrible murders.
There is a legal issue with it as well. It's not all these police are committing crimes. I got out early. New York State has a law that you can only serve 6/7 of your sentence.
Right.
So,
6/7.
whatever your sentence is, if it's 20 years, you can only serve 17-ish%. So that gives you supervised, because if you didn't have that, you got out, there's no watching. So with this law, the thinking was, you can get early, but that's going to give parole a chance to monitor you and force you to transition. So that was the thinking, that's the law. So it's
We want parolees to succeed. And again, I know it's getting late, even from the law enforcement perspective, Rochester Police Department, we support a number of programs. I know the city of Rochester does GED, education, job training, everything from health to how to go through a job interview. So we do not want parolees to fail because we all have a vested interest in their success. You know, so on the other hand, we do have parolees committing some very heinous crimes, and I do think we have the state's attention. I don't know if there's an easy solution out there, but you know, I would say that this group and groups like this are very well positioned that as we flesh out these proposals, and we need support with the state legislators, that it would be very helpful to come from you.
When a parolee does, you know, a parole violation, for example, is there an like, do they stay in jail, or do they get, you know, or do they get to be re-released? I'll be honest with you, I have one of the most dangerous dogs in Rochester right now. My dog was stolen by a parolee on Monday, and I've been all over the news all over everywhere. I got my dog back. I have go-getters. But at the same point,
the RP.
yeah, and I thank them up and down. They were phenomenal in helping me. But the thing is he was on parole. He was picked up earlier today for several other parole violations, which means he's been violating. You know, my dog's probably small beans compared to some of the other things he was doing. But my question is, you were picked up, you have multiple different violations on you now. Do you get, you know, oh, here's your little mail, you get to go back out again?
The 2-second version, they have like a similar like trial or hearing where,
Okay.
and then a parole board will determine whether or not that woman's going back to state prison for, you know, slapping or something.
It's several
There was a question from the chiefs. We have more parolees in Monroe County jail violations than any other jail in New York State.
Do they
But there's still more.
out to Rochester? Is Rochester, New York State?
We've asked parole that, I can only tell you, parole says that there's not a lot of non-Rochester parolees that, but sometimes, you know, either because of maybe an employment opportunity or the location of a family member, people end up there. That's a job really for parole to ask, but we've asked them that, and I know Mayor Warren has asked them that directly, and they are telling us that based on their numbers, we don't have a large proportion of non-Rochester
When you
parolees.
organize that, we will back you.
Good.
I want to commend Sandra Dorley for speaking out at the sentencing of the parolee that killed the woman. And you were very good, and you talked about the video, how horrendous it was. And then you said it was all for drug money, but they need to tell, that video must be horrendous.
It's, yeah, and that was one of the reasons why we worked on a plea arrangement, because I look at our media, I was afraid, you know, one of our radio, our TV stations don't want to play that. It was just horrible. I think everyone at the table has seen that. It's probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, this is a person who, throughout his career, he was in and out of prisons. Just, became addicted to drugs at the age of, I believe it was 12, and just just did
He
anything.
said
to
all
get
about
drugs.
it, just for drug money.
Yeah, he just wanted money for drugs, and he was a parolee. He had been released on January 12th. The homicide occurred on March 2nd, and we know that there were a string of other robberies that occurred between his release and murder.
And look at our little baby that was just killed because she interrupted her grandfather's program.
And the big problem with police is they are slow. They get people on violations sometimes. They don't have enough, they need more roll-offs.
All right, so we're with you, but you're with us.
You don't want to be-
Real fast, you wanted to say, Dorothy, number 7, real fast.
Oh, okay. What can be done, if anything, regarding the sale of drug paraphernalia located in our schools? It brings the youth and the drug dealers are not far behind. So actually, we need to have a store on and this too, along with the health enforcement. In fact, at one of my meetings last night, at Texas last night, it was brought to our attention by one of the residents that they now have a smoke shop on Jefferson Avenue. After all of that work that they have been doing there, they have a smoke shop. Now, nobody knows how it got there.
A smoke shop or a vape shop?
A smoke shop. It's a smoke shop. And what can be done about it? The person is in there, none of the residents know about it. Normally, we always receive a card from the city saying they want the permission to see if we'd like to have this baby there. As the lady said last night, no one received any type of information.
Do they have their business license? Do they have a certificate of occupancy? Do they have any of that
That's,
stuff?
I'm telling you, she just was at my meeting, so they have the church thing located on there.
Yeah.
They were concerned about that.
Well, I'll just say this briefly, that what I'm going to do is, that's in our Genesee section. We'll follow up with our captain and our neighborhood service center lieutenant to see what they know about that. And I don't have information to give you now, but rest assured, we know where to find you, and we will have our Genesee section follow up on that. A little more generally, we're a little bit limited because some of the items that we do consider drug paraphernalia are not necessarily illegal to possess or sell. Some are. To me, I think one of the strongest things we can. The problem is with these stores, if they're going to make money off it, there's going to be a temptation to do it. I think that delegations, committees from the neighborhood to approach with the police, and the neighborhood service centers to approach these store owners, and to the extent, if what they're doing is illegal, we'll arrest them and charge them. But to the extent we can convince them to be good neighbors and good members of the community, and not sell these items, which are encouraging drug trafficking, that's something that maybe we should do, go together and sit down and try to appeal to them as neighbors and to try to stop it.
Chief, Chief, but back in the 90s, we did the same thing. We did a code of conduct. We had a brochure, and it was a code of conduct for all the stores that they couldn't sell those, what we consider drug paraphernalia.
Do you still have the Jefferson Avenue Business Association?
I go to represent Senator Robach every month, and I'll be honest, the person came in there and shocked us all at the meeting. We did not know there was a smoke shop on the avenue until she came and presented herself. So.
And I'm sorry, did you say where on Jefferson Avenue now? Is it near?
It's 581.
581?
581, 587. You know that.
Oh, yeah,
you know
right
that.
across from 580
You know
Jeff.
where it is.
Yeah,
Right.
where Jeff and I used to
So the question is, they have to have a license from the city, right, to open up a business?
You would think, right?
But the thing about it is that it wasn't blessed by Jeff. I'm here for Senator Robach, but
Amanda
it was
Liz
not
will be
blessed by
following up the
Jeff.
Genesee section first thing in the morning on that, right, Tim? You got it.
And that 581 Jeff, that's right where our the substation used to be.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
What do we do as a community? Did you see these store towns? Some of them nice, but you see them in the advantage, because now it comes to Jordanville.
Well, on Jefferson, if I could just say this, because of the revitalization we've been doing, we kind of had a moratorium on the businesses that were coming into the avenue. And they were supposed to go through JAVA to get blessed before they went to the city to get, but somehow, I haven't been in that process for 3 years, but I'm just saying that's the way it used to be. It might change, but, but they were shocked at JAVA. Nobody knew they were there.
Yeah, that's.
Chief, I have a very quick question.
Sure.
And I want to preface it by saying, this request, I don't want it in any way to diminish the esteem we hold all of these in, but several of us, especially related to the clubs, have had very excellent working relationships with Captain Kyler.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Would be any way that he could become officially part of your group? I mean, even though he's not, a deputy chief or a commander, would that be a possibility?
Great.
I will tell you, there's a lot